down to a couple episodes I actually did really enjoy. The Bookstore, I think I like a couple of the stories. And I especially have one particular scene that just always makes me laugh my head off, that I'm going to share like a small personal story that instantly made me think of the scene in the moment when it happened, and just the way I just walked away from the situation. But so the main story was there was this bookstore that George claims has been dubbed as a new hangout to meet women. Why? I don't know. Especially back in the Bizarro Jerry, when it was established, of course, that Elaine's Bizarro friends are completely opposite of the friends she has. They like to read. Jerry, George, and Kramer, did they really like to read? Well, George did say in one episode that he did like to read. Or then again, was he lying? Because that was when he was helping Jerry out of his little problem with Duncan Meyer. Anyways, so they go to the bookstore. While they're there, Jerry happens to see Uncle Leo there. But then he sees that Uncle Leo was hiding a book in his coat, showing that Uncle Leo was shoplifting. So Jerry becomes a little bit concerned about that. George, meanwhile, goes to the bathroom. He takes a book with him. When he came out of the bathroom, of course, there's a sign right by the bathroom saying, "Bathrooms are not bookstores." Basically, the sign there is saying, don't take a book into the bathroom. Of course, he gets caught by one of the security guards, and he's forced to buy a book. To buy that book. It's a $100 book on art and stuff. And George has no interest in it whatsoever. Of course, he asks Jerry, what does he take to the bath to read when he goes to the bathroom? Jerry goes, I don't read in the bathroom. So George is stuck with his $100 book because he tried to return it, and when he got scanned, it had been flagged. He even tried to donate it to charity, which the same woman that was that was in the Muffin Tops that stormed into the Muffin Top store and yelled at Elaine and Lippman. She was there too, and she was also saying that some nutcase is having homeless people pull rickshaws. So basically, she was like, "You take your potty book out of here, or I'm going to come over that counter basically and whoop your butt." And of course, George runs away. Of course, everybody else catches on how they didn't want to eat next to George when he had the book on the table. It's like he just carried around this book for the longest time, just trying to find some way to get rid of it. Of course, so the problem is he wanted the money back, so he didn't want to pay for the book. Because it was $100 for that book. So meanwhile, Jerry confronts Uncle Leo. And first off, he says, why didn't you say hello? But then he basically says, I'm old, I'm confused, we steal all the time, basically. And finally, Jerry gets Jerry's point, says he'll stop shoplifting. Of course, while he was there with George, when George was trying to return the book, and of course scan it, and told him that it's been flagged, Jerry was talking to the security guard because he didn't want Uncle Leo arrested. He just wanted them to scare Uncle Leo and start him to basically give him a warning. They didn't do a warning. They went right to the chase, and Uncle Leo got arrested. And of course, Jerry's parents call him and get him for rat mouse. I guess he had a prior conviction. And how he wouldn't last in prison. I forgot how Uncle Leo described it, but they even had Jerry have this nightmare where Uncle Leo was in prison and he was doing like pull-ups, and they showed a close of his fingers, and when he grabbed one side of the bar, it said Jerry, and the other one said hello, and he's doing sit-ups, which is actually a reenactment of Cape Fear from 1991, from a scene from there. Of course, it just creeps the hell out of Jerry. And of course, it leads to Newman and Kramer just randomly coming into the apartment. They were discussing some things. Because Newman and Kramer's story was, they wanted to do a rickshaw business. And of course, they had a rickshaw on their way for them to start doing the business. The problem was that they didn't think through was, who was going to pull the rickshaw. As I spoiled before, they decided to have the homeless be the ones to pull the rickshaws. So they had a couple people, that who, applied for the job. One of them, whose name was Rusty, who apparently was played the same guy who, I forgot which episode was earlier in the series. Where is it? Oh, back in the Beard episode, there was a homeless man that Kramer had in with because the homeless man wouldn't return Kramer's Tupperware. The same actor played Rusty. Well, when Rusty went to try out to be a rickshaw puller, he went running off with the rickshaw. Which that at first put their business up in smokes. But then it got worse. We'll put it on hold for a second, though, that one. Elaine's story, meanwhile, is she was getting ready to go to the Peterman annual Christmas party. Now, the thing was apparently last year was the first Peterman Christmas party they had ever done, which Elaine, of course, started. So it seemed that Elaine had started a tradition of these Christmas parties. But everyone kept jagging her around. She's like, are you going to dance? Are you going to dance? Or you're not going to dance, are you? She's like, no, I'm not going to dance. So she was not up in the mood for that joke. Of course, whenever they start playing music, Peterman wants to get started dancing. They're playing "Shining Star" by Earth, Wind and Fire, and Peterman's doing some great dance with one of the co-workers. Then some new guy named Zach comes down and sits next to Elaine. Well, sure enough, the next day it is revealed that Zach and Elaine had a little too much to drink, and they made out viciously on the table. And basically, they're saying she's now the office skank. So then she was trying to roll with it and say her and Zach had been going out for a while until she walks in on Zach making out with another woman. And then, of course, she was going to use that as an excuse to break up with Zach. That way, she's not labeled the office skank, and she was worried about losing her associate's position. Until Peterman revealed that Zach has some issues. And he wants him to go into rehab, and he wants Elaine to be there since she is his lover, basically. And then, of course, those stories come colliding. Because Kramer and Newman first were able to find their rickshaw. And this is probably my favorite scene in the whole episode. Kramer and Newman were able to find their rickshaw. And they found it in a park, and they're able to walk away with it. However, though, Newman was it was faking that he couldn't pull it, so instead it'd be easier if just one of them pulled it. So, obviously, Kramer did something like an eeny, meeny, miny, moe thing. I can't remember what it was called, but basically, Kramer was wanted to pull it, and Newman was sitting in the rickshaw. Now, these scenes actually were shot in downtown Los Angeles. Of Kramer and Newman pulling the rickshaw. Of course, the thing was, though, they still had to keep the shots tight because they didn't want it to be revealing that they were in Los Angeles and not New York. Kramer, though, eventually gets tired and he needs a breather. So he sets the rickshaw down. And then Newman, the rickshaw, they're on a hill. The rickshaw starts going down the hill, and Newman is screaming out for help. And of course, Kramer can't stop. There's nothing to do about it. There's even a wide shot of Newman going down the hill in the rickshaw. But of course, the challenge was how do they do this without someone for real getting killed? So what happened was they even showed the shot from before and after in the inside look. They had a truck pulling the rickshaw down the street, and of course, they just had to erase the truck in post-production. Well, bad enough that Newman's, loose going down the hill in the middle of the city on a rickshaw. Out comes Zach, who's getting ready to cross the street. He just got out of rehab, and he goes, well, this is the first day of the rest of my life. And Newman collides into him on the rickshaw. Was Zach severely injured? I'm sure. Was Zach still alive? I don't know. But the funniest part of that scene was Kramer's reaction. Kramer sees that, and he's walking, here's how he walked. He was just basically he was like doing this thing where he's just like walking like, oh, you know, like he's walking like zigzag one way, like, you know, oh, I don't know how this happened. I don't know how this happened. Like walk, like, you know, I don't know this. And then he just like, when he gets to the top hill, he just like bolts for his life. It was just so funny. And it makes me think of, there was this one time, about 8 years ago, I was on a trip in Minnesota, and my sister, my cousin, and I were downstairs playing pool, and it was late at night. And people were telling us had to get to bed. So when we finished, I'm like, okay, I'm done. But they still wanted to play another round. I'm like, you guys do that. I'm not getting involved in this. So I stayed out there and just laid on the couch while that was all going on. Sure enough, someone did come out, basically bark at us, so, you know, stop, you know, to put the game away and get to bed. And I pretended I was on the couch sleeping when it happened. And when they went upstairs, I basically just got up and just walked exactly like Kramer did into the bedroom, and like, you know, just so you know, like, it was so funny. I laugh. That scene makes me laugh every time I see it. So yeah, the rickshaw business unfortunately did not take off, and it pretty much ended right there as it collided into Zach. Excuse me. Jerry, meanwhile, had gone back to the bookstore and talked to a manager, trying to, you know, drop the charges against Uncle Leo, because he didn't want Uncle Leo to get arrested. He just wanted him to, you know, just like, you know, give him a warning, like, hey, saying, hey, cut this out, and whatnot. But unfortunately, there was nothing he could do. At the same time, though, George had returned to the bookstore, basically out of options, trying to get rid of the book because it's been marked. So what he was going to do was, he was going to steal one, return it, and get his money back. That way they were even. However, wouldn't they know the book was stolen when they scanned it to be returned? Because it wouldn't have been checked out anyway, so George's plan kind of flopped there. But even so, Jerry still ratted out George, and George got arrested for shoplifting. So his plan backfired too. George is now down $100, and whatever else he was fined for shoplifting, that's a shame. So yeah, but that's the bookstore episode. I definitely one of my definitely one of my favorites in season 9 for sure. Again, I love the rickshaw storyline, and of course, you know, the way Kramer walked away was just hilarious and whatnot. Elaine's story was probably the weakest to me, but it was still fine. But definitely, you know, Uncle Leo stuff was good, and then George, you know, and his potty book was pretty funny as well. But that's that episode. We have one more episode left in season 9, disc 3, and then we'll have, I believe, after that we'll have 6 episodes left. So, rounding out this 3 here, guys. The next episode is another one of my personal favorites in season 9, The Frogger. And what does that entail? Well, if you've ever played the game The Frogger, you will find out next. And also, watch out for the Lopper. The Lopper. We'll guys talk about that next. So guys, what were your thoughts on the bookstore episode? Please be sure to leave your thoughts down in the comments section below. And be sure, as always, to slap a like on the video. Subscribe for more content on my channel, and follow me on Twitter as well at DemandAirboy93. Until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you all later. Have a great rest of your night, and peace out, everybody.